we want to welcome everybody for coming today. We know that for some folks, this is a challenge. If you haven't used Zoom before, and we're all learning how to do things together. And I would tell you what, our support group leaders have been champions for this. So we've got a new format this year. Hopefully next year we won't have to do this. But this year we are meeting virtually. As I mentioned, several portions will be recorded. And when that recording starts, you might get a prompt that asks if you want to continue to stay in the room. That's just out of courtesy to let you choose if you want to be recorded or not. So if you would just click yes, you want to continue, because we won't record when you ask questions to protect you. We're asking everybody to keep muted, your microphone's muted, and you will encourage you to mute or turn off your videos in certain portions. This also might help your connection. Sometimes you'll get a spotty connection, and if you turn off the video, your connection will improve. You'll be able to see things, but your camera will be off, and that'll help your connection. So that's up to you. When we're having our presentations with Dr. Silver and Robert Riggs, though, it helps to turn the camera off because you'll be able to focus on them too. They'll stand out more. We're going to ask you to use a chat box. And if you look down here on the right or on the left, you see a little box that looks like a bubble. There's an area at the bottom of your Zoom screen. When we're in certain portions, you may not see it right now, but you can type questions in here during the presentations, and then we'll have a portion of the day where we'll look at these questions and let the speakers answer them. So you'll notice here there's a microphone, there's a line through microphone. That's what we want you to have most of the time. You'll have a video that you'll turn on or off, and you'll also have a chat box that you can put questions in. At the very end today, though, we will let you just ask questions freely like you did when we were first starting gathering this morning. We will be sending you an evaluation with a follow-up email just to have you give us some feedback, not only about how the day went and what you thought about it and any things we can do to improve, but also to find out more about topics that you're interested in. We're going to take a short break around 11:05. And at that time, you can get up, stretch. We'll ask you to just turn off your microphone, and you can turn off your video camera if you don't want us to see what you're doing. But don't click out of the Zoom meeting. Don't end the meeting. If by chance, though, you do get bumped out for some reason or accidentally take yourself out, just click back on the link and we'll let you back into the meeting. Also remember that this is part one of a two-part series. We broke up the conference this year because we felt it's very fatiguing to sit at the computer for too many hours at a time. And we're not providing snacks, so you may need a little, you can't be sitting for 4 or 5 hours without some significant breaks. So next Saturday, we'll have our part two session. And at that session, Dr. Silver will talk more about some patient treatments. We'll have Dr. Fagali Bostwick share some updates from her lab, and will share with us a lab tour. We'll have Dr. Faye Hant talking about vaccines. And what else, Susan, am I forgetting for next week?
That's next week, right? No, you're not
week.
forgetting anything.
Okay, great. And also, we just encourage everybody, if you're not going to the Scleroderma Foundation website, that's where you're going to find out information about what's going on in the chapter, as well as nationally. Please go to this website, bookmark it, and take advantage of all the information there. So let me jump back here. This is our schedule for today. We're going to do some introductions this early part of the morning, and then we have support group leaders that have done something wonderful for us. You're going to get to meet them, and then we're going to have Robert Riggs share with us some information about what's going on nationally. We'll take a break, and then Dr. Silver's going to update us with some research going on at MUSC. And after that, we're going to have an open question and answer session. Might be things that didn't come up that you want to ask about. And then we'll wrap up and send you on your way in this rainy day to start your Saturday. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So I just want to give you a little overview about the chapter. We've not really done this before at a meeting, and we thought it would be helpful as kind of a precedent before Robert talks about the national organization. Our chapter has three main functions, and these are the things you're going to see with us. You're going to see support groups. We have 4 that we are facilitating, and we hope to have more, but after, once COVID lightens up. We have an annual patient conference, which is usually down in Charleston with fabulous gatherings and presenters and food. And this year it's virtual, which will have fabulous gatherings and presenters, but no great food. And Susan, I know, is heartbroken, like we're not getting to get these fabulous snacks together.
I know. And lunch.
And lunch, yeah.
Oh,
And we also support research and education through fundraising. And our primary, our jewel fundraiser is the Thomas Mills Memorial 5K race held in Columbia. Now, last year we had to do it virtually because of the pandemic. This year we're hoping that we'll get the green light. We're slated for fall, and I think it'll be October, but there's several people that have to all come together and make those dates confirmed. We also receive donations from individuals, from families, and we do get some funds from memberships to the foundation that help support our functions for our state. Now we're organized, and it looks awfully wonderfully structured, like we're almost a business here, but we're really quite a small operation. But we have a group of officers and our board members. We have our support group leaders, our medical advisors, and then a lot of volunteers that really help us get things done, and especially our fundraising endeavors and the patient conference. A lot of hands on deck helping out. So our team consists of our board members, and I'll have folks wave hello if they can say hello, and that'll help them pop up on the screen. So Susan Melvin is our president, and you probably speak with her the most. She knows you guys so well, and she really keeps up with how everybody's doing and where they are and what their circumstances are. I am Karen Kemper, the vice president, and here for moral support for Susan, but she does the lion's share. We have Melody Breen, who is our secretary, and she also is our support group leader, co-leader in Greenville, and she's really taken a lot of initiative to help coordinate all of our support group leaders. So she's emerging as a leader there. Frances Parrish is our treasurer, and we count on her for all things technical because she's smart with that, and we count on her. And then Bobby Francis, and I don't know if he's here today, but he was popped in and out. He's one of our board members at large.
I want to point out also that Frances is Amy Parrish's daughter.
Yes.
So she has quite the status.
Yes. So
her
mom is the namesake of this event. So our support group leaders are going to meet in just a minute. So I won't read their names out here now, but we've got our 4 support groups around the state, and we have got a wonderful team of people that have really just emerged as leaders for that, and we're just so grateful. We also, as I mentioned, our other volunteers, we do have Loretta and Doug Horton are here, and I don't know if Katie Gentry is here, but this team in Columbia really helps. They're really the cornerstone of the Thomas Mills Memorial Walk, and it is in honor of their loved one that we have that event. But we also have great support from Michelle Smith and Sarah Smith, both at the walk event as well as at the patient education conference down in Charleston. We cannot be as effective as we are without our medical advisors and primarily Dr. Richard Silver, who really is our champion in so many ways, and has just so generous with his time and energy to support our state endeavors. But we also have so many other talented medical professionals that are just making this all work for us. So Dr. Deanna Baker-Frost, Dr. Bruce Geckeritz, Dr. Kaki Bruce. Now, Dr. Geckeritz and Dr. Bruce are in the Columbia area. And we also have Dr. Carol Forgali-Bostwick, and she will be a presenter next week. Hello, Dr. Carol. And so this is our team. And we would love you to be a member of our team in some aspects. You can see there are a variety of places that you could step in and help out and help our efforts. Now we're going to share a short video with you. I'm going to watch my time. You know, this is new for all of us. And so we are all learning together. So bear with us, and we'll be all patient with each other as we move through this technology. So I want to introduce to you our support group leaders. Now in Charleston, we have Patty Newman and Sarah Bunn. In the Columbia area, we have Mallory Hartzell and Susan Simons, Bridget Bell, and Susan Widener. And I want to just say for Mallory, so she's got a special place in my heart because she's one of my former students at Clemson University. And I love my students. So shouting out to Mallory. And then Melody Breeden. Melody Breen, I always want to add a D-O-N to your name, Melody. Melody Breen and Kimberly Parker lead our Greenville support group, which is just delightful. That's my support group. I appreciate everything they do. And then our Piedmont group is Ashley and Ryan Goodner. They're not going to be here today, but they'll be here next week. But Lakeisha Williams, their co-leader, she is here today. Hi, Lakeisha. We want to wave to you. Where's Lakeisha? Find her spotlight. You don't see her? Okay. Well, I'm going to share with you our video. So in order to do that, I kind of have to do a couple funky things. So what I'm going to do is unshare this screen. So you're going to see us kind of lurch back and forth a little bit because there are other ways to do it. And I know we are all technologically gifted in different ways. Can you guys see this screen? It says meet our support group leaders. Good, thank you, Carol. Yes. Thank you. So we asked our support group leaders to record on Zoom a short message for you about why they're support group leaders, what their groups do, and a little bit about when they meet, etc. And I'm just going to say how grateful I am that they stepped up to do this, because this was no small thing. This is not anything any of us really knew how to do. And it was intimidating, and they did it fabulously. So we were so grateful. And then Francis kind of sewed it together, their messages, to be one video. So this is about 11 minutes long. And we want you to just have a chance to get a little feel for the different groups that we have around the state and the talent and wonderful energy that these folks are bringing to our South Carolina chapter. So let me actually unsteer that, because Francis reminded me that I have to do one extra thing. All right.
Hi, I'm Melody Breen.
Hey, and I'm Kimberly Parker. We're the support group leaders for the Greenville area Scleroderma support group. We typically meet on Saturdays, every other Saturday during the year, around 1:30ish, and we try to plan it when it's not around Clemson games, because we do meet in the Powdersville area. We right now are meeting on Zoom about every other month.
Some of you might wonder, well, why should I come to a support group meeting? So whether you've had scleroderma for a long time or you're a new patient, we do all kinds of educational programs. When we can have guest speakers, they're made available to us. Sometimes we just sit and we talk, and we learn a lot of information from each other, because there are concerns that all of us share. And they might be questions that, hey, you don't want to ask your doctor, but someone else there has exactly the same question. So if you'd like to know more about our support group, you can reach us at our website, the Scleroderma chapter website, and you'll see that there's contact information, mbreen@scleroderma.org. Or if you go onto our South Carolina chapter Facebook page, you can also see meetings posted, and you can leave a comment in there and someone will get a hold of you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Goodner, and I am one of the co-leaders of the Piedmont Support Group in the Rock Hill, Charlotte area. I was diagnosed with scleroderma back in 2016, and it's been about almost a 5-year journey. At first, I did not participate in the support group. It took a little time to absorb everything and all the information, but a year later, I was ready to reach out to other people that were in the same journey and struggles that I was. Since joining the group, I've been surrounded by very strong people and been able to have gather a lot of information and to empower myself. And I just feel very fortunate that I am able to co-lead this group with my husband and my friend Keisha. And I just feel like that you just, you gain a lot of knowledge and strength to carry with you on your own journey.
My name is Ryan Goodner, and I am Ashley's husband, and I am a caretaker. So in my role, I think caretaking is very important to be there not only as a support system for them and to learn more, but also to hear stories around you to help you deal with the situation at hand. This is a very tough disease. I think everybody varies in differences. So it's good to have these groups to talk things through and hear what people's different issues are, concerns, and maybe something that's working for you helps. But I see the joy and I see what it benefits people, and very blessed to be a part of this, and look forward to many years of it.
And hi guys, my name is Lakeisha, and I'm also the co-leader of the Piedmont Charlotte Rock Hill group. I joined the Piedmont group several years ago just to kind of connect with folks that had and shared in the same disease that I was on a journey with. It allowed me to be able to share my story as well as share into the story of others on a deeper level and get better understanding of how this disease works for not only myself, but for others around me in my local area. It's been a pleasure to meet a lot of phenomenal people, strong people, as Ashley stated, and I'm just excited to be on this journey with just phenomenal people. Although this journey has not been the best at times, it has gave a stronger and deeper connection for all of us, I believe. And I look forward to things to come in the future for this transformation of this whole disease and getting us in a place of being able to have a cure one day. So we want to also invite you guys. We meet 4 times a year throughout the year, and we would like to invite you guys to reach out to us through going to the Scleroderma meeting website, official website, to find us. You also can find our information on Facebook as well. So we just hope that you guys will join into the journey with us and keep on fighting, because you are a survivor.
Hi, my name is Mallory Hartzell, and I am one of the co-leaders for the Columbia Support Group. Just to share a little bit about myself, I am the daughter of someone who has scleroderma. She's actually one of the co-leaders also. So I guess you would say I am a family member, of course, of someone with scleroderma. And so why do I volunteer as a support group leader? I volunteer because it allows me an opportunity to learn more about scleroderma, be that support system for my mother, that is the person who has scleroderma, be that support person for my mother, and sort of go through some of these things with her as far as going to the meetings, discussing with other patients who have scleroderma, learning about some of the other things that patients go through. It just allows me an opportunity to go through some of these processes with my mom and be that support person for her. And also it's something new. She's been a part of the Scleroderma Foundation before, but she's new to the support group. So I think it is kind of nice that I'm able to also participate in the groups with her to go through this process with her. So with our groups, we are recently new. We started back at the end of 2019, and unfortunately COVID happened. So we have not had the opportunity to meet in person as often as some of the other groups that have already been established. But typically our group meets in Lexington, at Lexington Medical Center. But right now, of course, we're virtual. And we meet every other month. So we have met in January and we will meet again in March via Zoom. And some of the things that we like to do, I mean, like I said, we are still fairly new starting out, but some of the things that we like to do It's just allow for an opportunity for open discussion. We always welcome our members by just allowing them to introduce themselves and give a little bit of information about themselves. Maybe when they were diagnosed, anything that they would like to share. We don't ask anyone to divulge any information that they would choose not to. So of course, we just allow our members the opportunity to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about themselves. They can include anything that they would like to share. And then we allow for, open discussion. Sometimes we'll bring in a speaker to do a little bit of a presentation, or we will ask one of our doctors, either Dr. Bruce or Dr. Gekowich, to provide us with some information, maybe new information that they've come across, or maybe we might do a little Q&A session with them. So anything that we can sort of think of to make it a little lively, that's what we'll do. But recently, since we've been on Zoom, we just open up Zoom and allow everyone to sort of catch up, just to see each other, know everyone's doing okay, just providing additional information, just checking in. That's just an opportunity to talk to someone outside of your home. So that's what we do on Zoom, and we just try to make it fun and enjoyable, and just allow people to have the opportunity to talk. We would welcome anyone to join our group, our Columbia support group. If you're in the area, around the Midlands area, if one of the other groups is too far away from you and we're a tad bit closer, we welcome you to join us. With everything being virtual right now, you can be an hour away and you can still hop on the computer and you can join us right away. So, but we welcome any new members, anyone who is recently diagnosed, has been diagnosed for a long time, and they would like to be part of this group. We welcome you to join us. Our contact information is on the Scleroderma chapter website, and that is how you can find us. So once again, my name is Mallory Hartsell, and I am one of the co-leaders for the Columbia Support Group. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Patty Newman. I'm one of the facilitators of the Charleston Area Support Group. I was diagnosed with systemic scleroderma in 2017, and I was very hesitant to join a support group. To be honest, I thought it might be depressing to be around other sick people. But I did join, and I found everyone to be warm and welcoming, and to my great surprise, very optimistic and upbeat. So I would like to encourage you, if you're in the Charleston area group, to join our group. We meet on the second Saturday of every month at 11 o'clock in the morning on Zoom. And don't let the technology scare you away. Please don't. Sarah and I, my co-facilitator, Sarah and I, were a little hesitant to start the Zoom meetings, but we found that it really wasn't bad at all. And after the first one, we were hooked. And we have a record number of people now joining us on Zoom. And they learned that it really wasn't so hard to do and was very convenient in a lot of ways. So here's my co-facilitator, Sarah.
Hey y'all, I'd like to tell y'all a bit about the Charleston group. Firstly, the facilitators. Patty is very calm and soothing. She has a very serene vibe. Then there's me. I'm a little more animated and abrupt, kind of a crazy vibe, but the vibes mesh really well together. And luckily we have MUSC's own Dr. Deanna Baker Frost as a support leader for the Charleston area. Our group likes to focus on education, but we do have some fun while doing it. We would like to welcome scleroderma patients and caregivers to our virtual meetings. We have a diverse collection of individuals who are warm and friendly and would love to see some new smiling faces. So please feel free to reach out to Patty or I to join one of our meetings, and you can find that information on the Foundation website. Thanks and have a great day.
So we hope you enjoyed getting to meet some of the support group leaders, because they are fabulous. And we are just so lucky to have the energy that we have and the talent, people skills talent that we have with our support group leaders. And they work as teams. and they're actually meeting more with each other and learning from each other as we've evolved. And 2 of them are actually going through training that is supported by the Scleroderma Foundation to learn how to be even better support group leaders. So they've really given a tremendous amount of their time and talent to contribute to all of our well-being and helping our state serve the Scleroderma community. So if I'm going to teach you guys a little trick here. If you look down near the bottom of your screen, you're going to see something called reactions. You should have a button like that. If you click on that, you'll see some clapping hands. And if you would just give a hand, give an applause to all of our support group leaders, because they are doing a great job and we wouldn't be here without them. And they're here to reach out to you. So thank you, support group leaders. Appreciate it. Well, without further ado, I'm going to jump back into this screen. And again, bear with me as I am learning how to quickly hop back and forth. So we are so delighted to be able to have our guest, Robert Riggs, here today. He planned to come to one of our previous meetings, patient meetings, and wasn't able to because of some last minute emergencies that came up, but he has graciously agreed to join us today. And Robert is the CEO of the Scleroderma Foundation, and he and I are going to have a little conversation and talk a bit about what's going on with the Scleroderma Foundation and some of the history and how it's serving our community. And we will also ask, I'm going to just quit sharing here a minute. We're going to also ask that if you will put questions in the chat box for Robert as we go along, as the conversation between the 2 of us go along, and then we will address your questions after his presentation. So he and I are going to talk for about 25 minutes or so, and then we want to open it up for questions from you. So is Francis is going to get me connected, or just Robert and I are going to be together? Hello, Robert.
Hello. How are you this morning, Karen? You're doing a great job.
Thank you, teacher mode. Well,
I can tell you,
we are so delighted to have you here. And, you know, Robert has been somebody that I don't know the Scleroderma Foundation without knowing Robert is at the head of the helm. And I've just observed so many things over time where you've been so generous bringing folks in from the Scleroderma community. And I know I've been able to do some really amazing things and contribute in different ways in service because you've recommended or offered me those opportunities. So I'm so grateful and I appreciate it so, so much. Today, though, we asked you to come and join us to share with us some information about the Scleroderma Foundation, how you got involved, a little bit about the history. Just have a conversation so that our South Carolina community will understand a little better what the foundation is about and how they're serving us. So could you share with us a little bit about how you became involved?
Sure. I think the overarching mechanism that got me involved in the foundation was unemployment. Which is a great motivator. I will say that on January 16th, I marked my 25th anniversary of being involved with the Scleroderma community. And that history has just truly changed my life. I'm so, if somebody had told me 25 years ago that this would be the my almost entire career trajectory, I would not have thought that. But I think that's some of the magic of this organization, and that magic is made up actually by the individuals that comprise our organization. So I was 25 years ago. I had a brief stint working in medical healthcare communications. I was in public relations, and I had a small company with a business partner, and we managed by some dumb luck, actually, to sell our little company to a larger company. And we didn't like working with them. And so back then, as a young kid, basically, I thought, oh, I have all the money in the world. So I moved to the most expensive place that I could think of. And that was Carmel, California, beautiful place. And I realized back then, a tank of gasoline cost $50 if you were living in that part of the country. And I didn't have enough money to be retired at that age, and I needed to find a job. So it was unemployment. And in the local paper, there was this little ad saying a small nonprofit seeks a communications specialist. And I thought, that'd be nice. I think I'll go apply for that job and see what happens. And it was one of the predecessor organizations to the current Scleroderma Foundation. And I guess, the story is that I did get hired by the organization. And within 2 weeks of starting the job, I spent a week with a person who had the disease. We were calling on corporations and trying to get help and support. And that was the first Scleroderma patient that I had ever met. And we're still great friends today. And I learned so much from her, the tenacity that it takes to get up every day and power through your day with the difficulties that this creates. And when she got up every morning and power walked before we started our day, and I went jogging one morning alongside her, and I got shin splints, and this person had to run off into the morning fog of California and go get the car and save me. So I thought, you know what, this is a community that I can really get behind if they're that tough. And the rest is sort of history. I've been involved now for 25 years, and it has been life-changing to have the opportunities to meet the people, not only those who are living with scleroderma, but the families and the incredible medical community. It has been an education and a privilege and an honor. And I can't imagine being more blessed in my life than having been able to be involved in this. So that's really how I came to it. And this will always be a part of my life.
So maybe full disclosure, would you want to share a little bit about your transition, and then we'll talk more about the foundation, just to take care of it, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure. So I have recently announced to the National Board of Directors that I'm stepping down as CEO after many years. And the national organization is going through a CEO search process right now with a national firm. So while I have been here for a long time, this is not goodbye. This is just a redefining of roles. This has been 25 years of my life. I am as passionate about what our goals are for this community, which we'll talk a little bit more about in our interview together. But I'm redefining my role in allowing the organization to grow and bring in exciting new blood and energy. I think that's important for every organization. And I think it's a great time in the organization. We have a lot of things in place and a lot of exciting things happening. That is the right time for me to step aside and let new talent come up and lead us. And
Well,
I will be a cheerleader right along with them.
I appreciate that. And I think that that makes me feel even more grateful that we've had a chance to have you part of this conference this year. Before you transitioned to different roles with us, and in a meeting with Robert earlier, when Susan and Robert and I met, I said, in universities, when we step away or retire from our organization, we become emeritus faculty. And I think that you should officially be our emeritus faculty or emeritus team member, because you still, as you say, you just adjust roles. But that just made me so much more grateful that you could join us today and talk about the organization, because you're really reflecting, I'm sure, on this journey And I know for us, we, as somebody who's watched the blossoming of the organization, I just love that you're going to be able to talk about that blossoming with us and share that story with us. So to keep us on some of the things we wanted to touch on today, one of the things I think is important for our community to understand is the focus that the foundation has, the mission. And
Sure.
could you share with us about a little bit about that, why that's so important and how that's really guided you over these 25 years?
Sure. So our mission, the organization's mission has three parts to it. So one is support, the other one is education, and the third one, equally as important, is funding research. And our goals are, and I think that what happens in the South Carolina chapter is the perfect picture of what our support mission is. It's to bring families and people living with this disease together, because we all know that for all of us who have worked in this community and known and have had to deal with the complications of this disease, that it can be very isolating. So it is so important to provide, as an organization, the structure through which people can come together and build a community of support. And beyond just that, the community of education, of sharing the wisdom that people have from living with this disease on a daily basis. So I think that when you showed the support group video and what you've talked about as what this chapter does, it is the perfect painting and landscape of our support mission. This is what happens across our country through support groups. And we have 160 support groups throughout the country. Some of them are under independent and some of them are work within a chapter structure like yours. Then the second part of our mission, of course, is to promote public awareness about the disease by educating people so that, scleroderma doesn't become this nebulous idea or something that somebody's never heard of. We really want the public to understand this disease, at least know about it, so that the people who are living with it every day don't have to constantly explain to people some of the issues that they have. The disease multiple sclerosis, MS, if you say that or talk about that in a general public setting, people have an inkling about what that is. They may not know exactly what it is, but they've heard about it, and they understand, at least at some base level, the complications associated with MS. The incidence and prevalence rates in the US of scleroderma and MS are really not that radically different. About 400,000 with MS and around 300,000 with scleroderma in all of its forms. So you look at the disparity between the public awareness of one disease that's almost the same amount of patients involved in it, and scleroderma, and we realize that we still have a lot of work to do. The other part of our education piece is reaching out to the medical community, because a lot of us are not as fortunate to have the support in the community and a globally recognized scleroderma center in their own state, and for some of you in your own city that we have at MUSC. So there's a lot of people who need access to more specialists who understand this disease. And so we try to create programs and awareness for the medical community as well. And then third, our mission of research. We are and we'll get into it a little bit more detail later on, but we're the largest nonprofit, non-government organization that funds scleroderma-related research. We follow a peer review process, which is the gold standard, and I won't bore you with the technicalities of that, but when your donors and people across the country give to the Scleroderma Foundation, they are really sustaining the careers of early career investigators and established investigators who are bringing new science to light to help find better treatments and hopefully one day a cure. So that's our mission.
Well, and I wanted just to complement that with awareness and education, where I think it's remarkable, and I remember at many patient meetings at the national level talking about even training curriculum for physicians to learn more about scleroderma. But you also go to Washington to make sure legislators who are making decisions about funding are aware of that as well. So while you're drawing in resources for seed money, you're also encouraging those decision makers to make sure larger sums of money
Sure.
are dedicated.
Our advocacy work is a huge part of our research mission. And the largest funder of medical research really globally is the United States government through the National Institutes of Health. And so we spend a tremendous amount of energy as part of our research effort to bring scleroderma greater awareness within Congress, who has the power of the federal checkbook, and also working very closely with certain institutes at the National Institutes of Health that oversee scleroderma related and fibrotic disease related and vascular disease related research. And we've had really tremendous success. I'm so proud of our community who has come together and worked on our advocacy program. We have achieved, after many years of trying, a specific line item in the federal budget for scleroderma research. It's a long way to go, but there's a lot of competition to get it. But to actually have scleroderma as part of the federal budget specifically for research, and it's through the Department of Defense. So we are working right now on a process that's a research grant process that researchers can apply for these funds for research. And it's through a congressionally directed peer review medical program. So these are dollars that are congressionally directed to scleroderma research. The monies don't come to the foundation, they go directly to researchers that apply for it around the world or around the country. But if it weren't for the advocacy and the involvement of our community throughout the country that have engaged with their elected officials, we would have not been able to achieve this. So I would encourage any of you to go to our website at scleroderma.org/advocacy and learn about what we do there, because it really does make a difference and opens up millions and millions of dollars to researchers around the country.
I'm really grateful for that you're that voice, that our foundation is the voice for us, because progress will happen much faster with that voice being a constant reminder that we're here, and good things will come by funding us.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease,
Yep.
and we just have to keep wiping off that grease every year and remain squeaky. That's the goal.
Yeah. So we get asked a lot, from our families in our community. Well, we're helping you with this fundraising. Well, actually, I'm jumping ahead. I'm going to ask. Well, maybe that's a natural segue. Let's go to the natural segue. When we do fundraising, our donors will often ask, well, how does the foundation use these resources?
Sure.
And I've always been so proud of your stewardship, so I want you to brag on it.
Well, sir, thank you for that compliment. It's very gratifying to be a part of an organization that takes the stewardship of the funds entrusted with us so seriously. And it's not just me saying that, it is not just our organization saying that, independent charitable watchdog groups say that as well. And that's why we are rated the highest rating from Charity Navigator, which is an independent reviewer of charities and how transparent they are and how they do their work. and how they spend their money, and also GuideStar, which is an important charity watchdog group as well. And we're rated very highly, the highest ratings for both of those. And so what happens with the monies that we raise? And it's a really good question and an important one, because you're entrusting us with your dollars. And we fall below all the federal guidelines for overhead expenses for nonprofit organizations. So we're a very lean organization. We don't have enormous staff. We do not have fancy offices. We really stay very lean, and it's a culture within our organization to do so. So when we look at 85%, 80% of of every dollar raised goes right back into programs and services. We run nationwide about 18, depending on the year, sometimes there's anomalies, but about 18% of all monies come in to do overhead, and that's rent and heat and electricity and pencils and papers, and yes, salary and benefits. We have a dedicated team, and sometimes I feel like they work for peanuts because we demand a lot out of them, but and they give it because they're really part of being part of this organization, and it's a true mission for our employees as well. But it's really gratifying to see how programs and services, education, and this is all available in black and white if you'd like to read financial things. Our audit and is posted on our website. We're very proud that we always have a clean audit, and you can really see where we spend the funds. Research remains our largest single budget item per year. And that hasn't changed in probably the 20 years that I've been involved, or 25 years I've been involved in the organization. Research has always taken that prime spot. So I would encourage people, if you want to dig deeper, one, you can always email me and I will respond with the information. But two, you can go online and really see how we steward your funds.
Well, we appreciate it. And that has always impressed me. In the years I've attended the patient conferences, hearing about that, it's just made me feel so confident about being a part of the team to champion fundraising through the Scleroderma Foundation. So could you share with us a little bit, like the perspective? You had mentioned that we have chapters around the country. How does that work? And then I'd love you to share some fun things that you are seeing going on around the country.
Well, sure. So our structure is that we have the national organization that we're based in the metropolitan Boston area up in Massachusetts, but we have a network of 19 chapters throughout the country, and 7 of those chapters are independent 501c3 organizations. And they're an independent charity that we have basically, the best way to describe it is a franchising agreement with them. They use our logo, they follow our guidelines, they do the same types of work that we do, and they contribute to the overall support of the organization as well. And then the bulk of our chapters, 12 chapters, much like the South Carolina chapter, operate under the auspices of the national organization. So we're as a legal entity goes, we're one organization, but we have, if you will, branch offices. And so the South Carolina chapter is basically a branch office of the national organization. And within those chapter structures, it varies tremendously between, we have chapters that have the ability financially to sustain staff. Some have one staff person, others have multiple staff members that do the work that in all volunteer chapters, like the South Carolina chapter, that the board does. So Susan Melvin, Francis Parrish, you, others, the work that you do as volunteers is tremendous. And honestly, we couldn't meet our mission without the support of volunteers like you. And I will say that even the chapters that have paid employees, and there are several, um, that it is the volunteers that are the ambassadors of not only our organization, but of the scleroderma community within their own communities. And even if you had a staff person to do it, it doesn't have the impact that people who are living with this condition every single day, going out and telling their story and being those ambassadors to the to the community, but also to the organization. We're so grateful to have that.
And I think there's
Yeah,
a
that's
family spirit to it. And I think it's because families make up the networks of the volunteers, many families networking together.
I think from a personal point of view, as I said earlier, I never would have thought 25 years ago that I would be here 25 years later. And I had no personal connection to the disease. I didn't have a family member with scleroderma. Although through the march of time, uh, my mom has been diagnosed with two autoimmune diseases. One of them is a sister to scleroderma. So it would have eventually kind of
Yeah.
uh, hit home, autoimmunity at least. But I think the thing that is so amazing and what has kept me so inspired by the group is that family connection. It didn't take long at all for this to be an incredibly personal cause to me. And I think that people find that throughout the organization. Um, I think about it every year at the holidays when I'm writing out my holiday cards and how many of them are going to close friends that I have made in this organization that I have actually had the opportunity to visit in their homes or to be at a life event like a wedding or a graduation of one of their children or something like that. And so there is a tremendous sense of family in this organization. And I think that drives so much of what we're able to accomplish as a rare disease community.
So you've seen lots of things working within this community. And I know we talked about a couple things we would ask about, but just to consolidate it as this kind of our conversation unfolds. Um, what have you seen that's been really inspiring to you from the community and gives you hope about our future?
There I there's so much. Oh my gosh, it's just so, and I thought about this because you shared that you wanted to have this conversation. There's so much to be positive about. I think about where we have come in just a knowledge about the disease from a scientific point of view, in exponentially more work and more interest in this disease than we've ever seen before, and it continues to grow. I can remember going to the American College of Rheumatology annual medical conventions, and if you had 100 people in a room listening to scientists and researchers share their results of their studies, you were thinking that that was incredible, that 100 people really cared. Now we have rooms that have to have overflow rooms because the interest is so big. And you see just the global collaboration, which technology allows us to do. So I am not a scientist and I am not a medical professional. And I know that Dr. Silver and Carol Fagali Bostwick next week are going to touch more on this. So I'm not going to steal a lot of their thunder. But if you are a person living with this disease, I just think that there's so much hope for real breakthroughs and better treatment modalities for those living with the disease. I was also really proud to be part of a global uh, advisory board that helped bring the first scleroderma specific drug through the FDA approval last year. It's for lung complications within systemic sclerosis, ILD, SSC ILD. But seeing what is involved in bringing a new therapeutic to the marketplace and through the approval, and really having a voice at the table to represent this community was one of the most exciting things that I've had the opportunity to do. But there's so much talent in our organization, and there's so much creativity, and even more so now because we're having to figure out how to do things like this online. And I think the great thing that I'm seeing is that boundaries are getting blurred. And so I don't know if there are only people in South Carolina who are aware of today's and next Saturday's meeting, but we have the opportunity now, and people are embracing this technology, that the support and the education that comes from this peer-to-peer contact is happening both globally, but also across our own national borders. So why can't a person from Chicago get in touch with somebody in South Carolina and Charleston and share their knowledge as well? And that's what we're seeing happening more and more through technology, through online forums. And I think that just elevates the conversation, and it elevates the resources that are out there. And I think it's a very exciting time.
Well, so no, we're running out of time, and I wanted to just wrap up. We had two questions, I think, in the chat box I saw that I think were answered. One was how long the Scleroderma Foundation's been.
Organization in its current form, the Scleroderma Foundation was founded 22 years ago in 1998. So we've been around, but we trace our history to two predecessor organizations that date back to the 1970s. So we have coming up on 40 years of organizational history to draw from.
So in our last minute, what I wanted to let you have a chance is to speak to our community, and what would you say to somebody who's thinking about getting involved with this Scleroderma Foundation? What would you encourage them to do?
Do it. Just do it. It is so important that, particularly now with so many challenges to our daily lives created by the pandemic, it's more important than ever to connect with people and to be encouraged by people and to share your own history and story with people, because you can be seeking that information from somebody else, but you have something to give as well, and you can help somebody along their path. And so the connectedness that is so important for all of us to live our best lives, that's one of the things that the foundation does very well. And of course, if we want to keep advancing research and doing this, it's an expensive enterprise, and we're proud of our leadership role, and we can't do it without the support of people like you. But I hope that is a giving because of what you've received, and what you've received from this organization and can receive from this organization is support and friendship and guidance and understanding and great medical advice through our medical advisory boards and the physicians and the caretakers that we can connect you with. It is a total community, and you're missing out on something pretty special and really fantastic if you don't get involved.
Yes, I agree. And I think whatever you give, you're going to get back as much and more. And I know everybody has different things they can share, whether that's time, talent, or finances, treasure. I think that I'm just excited to be part of the organization, be able to support it moving forward in my time that I can make contributions in time, talent, or treasure. And we appreciate what you have given, because I know in these 22 years, your 25 years involved, it has grown so much. And I don't cease to be just so excited and pleased about what I see happening on the horizon. And I know we don't have time to talk about some of the changes, but changes are coming, as it is for all of us. So new things happening. We're all going through a metamorphosis. We're all learning new things. Just the fact that we're here in this virtual conference is a testament to that. We want to give you a little gift, Robert. I'm gonna do my quick shares here. So I don't think we need to ask any chats because we have answered the questions actually kind of naturally through conversation, but we have a special gift we're going to send to you.
Oh my
And I'm going
gosh.
to let Susan talk about this, and you may recognize this if you've been in Charleston and seen some of the local artisan work there. So Susan,
Yes.
take it away.
Thank you. Robert, we wanted you to have something something unique to South Carolina and something to remember us by. It's a two-handled double coil sweetgrass basket. It's made by Angela Nowell, and she is with the Sweetgrass Baskets of Mount Pleasant. And for those of you who don't know the history of these baskets, it is a craft that was brought over by the enslaved Africans that were brought here, during the time of slavery. These coil baskets were first found in South Carolina in the late 17th century. So anyway, so this is a functional basket. It is big enough for you to use for bread or muffins or, whichever you'd like to have it. And so we are going to send this to you so that you will not forget the South Carolina chapter in your new way of life. And we hope you'll enjoy this basket.
You will always have a home away from home here, Robert.
I cannot imagine anything more lovely, and it will get used, and always remember you. And Charleston happens to be one of my favorite places. And so, yes, you will see me. I'm like a whack-a-mole, you just the minute you think you've knocked me out, I pop up somewhere else. And so I look forward to popping up very soon. And thank you for that lovely gift. That is really touching, and it will have a pride of place in my home. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for being here with us, Robert. And if you can stay with us, there may be some questions. We're going to take a break, but if you guys would please give applause and a thank you for Robert sharing his Saturday morning with us. It's probably earlier. I don't know if you're in Arizona or on the East Coast, but we appreciate.
I'm still on the East Coast. I'm very
Great.
happy.
It's not too early in the morning for you. So thank you so much. And we're going to transition away from our presentation. I'm going to just share this screen with you guys one more time as we prepare for a little break. So we are going to take a break about 10 minutes. And please don't check out of Zoom, but you can mute your mic and mute your microphone. We're going to put a timer up here so that you'll kind of have a sense of, hope you had a nice break. We saw a couple of funny comments that people felt like that music was very soothing and it was going to put them to sleep. And I loved it because I think we should have done a little deep breathing from Dr. Sundar's exercises during that 10-minute time. Yeah. Grow a telomere, increase your lifespan. We're very excited to introduce our next speaker, and let me tell you how this will work. Dr. Richard Silver, who I would say almost everybody at this meeting knows, and if you don't know, you're going to know after today. So Dr. Silver is our main medical advisor and really our champion here in our state for our chapter's growth, really. So as much as we've been able to accomplish here through his support and MUSC support. He's a distinguished professor of the College of Medicine at MUSC and the co-director of the Scleroderma Center. He's the former director of the Rheumatology and Immunology Division. And we have the current director is here, I believe. Susan, is that correct? Is Dr. Oates here? She might.
Yes, Dr. Jim Oates. So Francis, will you spotlight Dr. Jim?
Yeah, we want to welcome you. Thank you for coming today. We knew you had a crazy busy schedule. Thank you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So today we're going to have Dr. Silver's going to share a presentation with us, and it's pre-recorded because he is in the mountains of North Carolina right now with questionable internet. So he's here with us, and he's going to be here for question and answer, but the presentation itself is pre-recorded. And this, now we say that because we hope everything will work, But I'm going to switch us out to his pre-recording, and bear with me a second because I would imagine that fate is going to test my my patience again. And there it is. It wants me to, it's not doing something. So let me get something ready here through this. I'm going to sneak it in. Bear with me just a second. I thought I had it loaded up, but it doesn't want to show. So I'm going to go another route. And what I have to basically do is go back and forth between screens. So hang in there with me. All right, now I'm going to get us started here. And this is Dr. Silver's.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 11th annual Amy Parrish Scleroderma Education event. I'm Rick.
I apologize. I'm gonna
Center at the Medical University of South Carolina.
My apologies. I need to do something before I share that. And sorry. I had a hiccup. I didn't click the right button when I did my share. Sorry.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 11th annual Amy Parrish Scleroderma Education event. I'm Rick Silver, co-director of the Scleroderma Center at the Medical University of South Carolina, and it's a pleasure to be with you. I regret that we're not all together in person in Charleston. I'm actually coming to you from Brevard, North Carolina, and this session is being pre-recorded since I may not have complete internet access on February 13th, but I do hope to be available for questions and answers following this presentation. Before we begin, I want to congratulate Susan, Karen, Francis, all the members of the chapter and those who work so hard at MUSC to put together these annual education conferences. And I want to congratulate the chapter for receiving the Outstanding Education Program Award this past year, 2020. And this makes the second time in the past 10 years that the South Carolina chapter has received this award. And I'm very grateful for everybody's support and for the opportunity you have given our patients to learn more about scleroderma. Research is hope. This is one of the mantras of the Scleroderma Foundation and those of us at MUSC whose career is devoted to the care and the research for patients with scleroderma. And over the years, MUSC and the Scleroderma Foundation have had a very strong and I think unique relationship. And in the next few minutes, I'd just like to highlight that relationship and how it has sustained the research efforts at MUSC as well as at other institutions. These are some figures that I think illustrate the relationship that the Scleroderma Foundation has with the Medical University of South Carolina and its investigators. So since the inception of the Scleroderma Foundation, which came out of the merger of two other scleroderma foundations, there have been 27 research grants awarded to investigators at the Medical University. There overall have been 10 individual researchers who have received such funding. And if you go back of the 30 years that the Scleroderma Foundation has been providing research support, 1 or 2 grants have been awarded to MUSC in 21 of the 30 years. The grant process that the Scleroderma Foundation uses it mirrors that of the NIH. It is a peer-reviewed process where grants are competitively reviewed and scored by individuals who have no conflict of interest. It's a very competitive process and one that is really, I think, the standard for fairness to the investigators who are applying for such awards. My first grant was received in 1989 from the United Scleroderma Foundation, one of the organizations that was a forerunner of the current Scleroderma Foundation. And that grant was for the amount of $25,000, which doesn't seem like very much right now, but back in 1989 was a considerable grant, particularly for a young investigator who was launching his investigative career in the field of scleroderma. And this grant enabled me to devote time to my area of particular interest, which was scleroderma lung disease. And as you know, at the time in the 1989, renal crisis was becoming less of an issue, and lung disease was becoming more of an issue for our patients. So this was both timely and very crucial for my career. And fast forward to more current times, 2019, MUSC investigators received 2 of the Scleroderma Foundation awards, now in the amount of $150,000 over 2 or 3 years. And these grants have been very important to sustaining the scleroderma research at MUSC. If one looks back over the past 5 years, you can see a total of 5 grants in the total amount of $750,000 have been awarded by the Scleroderma Foundation to MUSC investigators. And if you go back to 1989 and add up all of the grants to MUSC investigators, that number approaches $3 million. This slide shows the 10 investigators who have received grants from the Scleroderma Foundation over the last 30 years or so. Now, some of these investigators have moved on. Some have retired. For example, Elena Torquina has retired and moved to Portland, Oregon, where her grandchildren live. Anna Ludwicka Bradley, not shown in the picture here, she has moved back to her native country of Poland. Dr. Jim Norris, who became the chairman of the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at the Medical University, is now Professor Emeritus. I'll tell you a little bit more about Maria Trojanowska in a moment, and Rebecca Lee has moved on. But on the top row, we see investigators who are still actively conducting research at MUSC and who all have received funding from the Scleroderma Foundation. And I'd like just to tell you a little bit more about these particular investigators. So here's Maria Trojanowska. She really is a success story. She was a homegrown product of the Medical University of South Carolina. She came to MUSC to do her postdoctoral fellowship and got interested in fibrosis research. She came to the Division of Rheumatology and worked with Dr. Leroy and later with myself. And she became one of the leaders in the field studying the molecular and the cellular mechanisms of fibrosis. All told, during her tenure at MUSC as a faculty member, Maria received $500,000 in funding from the National Scleroderma Foundation. To our chagrin, she was recruited away several years ago to become the director of the Arthritis and Autoimmune Diseases Research Center at Boston University School of Medicine. And fortunately for all of us, Maria remains very active as a scleroderma researcher, and also, I must say, has played a very important role as a reviewer of grants and an advisor to the Scleroderma Foundation. So we're very proud that Maria began her career at MUSC and has continued it at Boston University. As I mentioned, my first grant was that $25,000 grant from the United Scleroderma Foundation. And now I work with Galina Bogatkevich, and in our lab, we are studying primarily scleroderma lung fibrosis. All told, since 1989, our lab has garnered $1.1 million in funding from the Scleroderma Foundation. And these funds have enabled us to conduct research looking at what is going on in the respiratory tract of patients with scleroderma. We were among the first group of investigators to show that fibrosis in the lungs of people with scleroderma is characterized by an inflammatory and an immune process in the lower respiratory tract. We were among the first to demonstrate the role of thrombin, which is a clotting factor, in the pathogenesis of scleroderma lung disease. And we've shown recently that a medication that blocks thrombin, an anticoagulant, a blood thinner, if you will, is a potential treatment for patients with scleroderma lung disease. And also recently, we've discovered a new molecule, which we call M10, which is a peptide, naturally occurring peptide that has some anti-fibrotic process. And we're in the process of developing this molecule as a potential therapeutic agent. All of this research has been supported by grants from the Scleroderma Foundation and other sources, but could not have been accomplished if we hadn't received that $25,000 grant in 1989. So currently we are continuing our research on lung fibrosis, and we are developing this molecule M10 as a potential therapeutic agent for scleroderma. And I'm happy to report that based on the research and this research support that we have had from the Scleroderma Foundation, we recently received a 2-year, $500,000 grant from Boehringer Ingelheim Pharmaceuticals to look at lung fibroblasts from scleroderma patients before and after being treated with a thrombin inhibitor. So the seed money received over the years from the foundation has led to other extramural support. We have a grant pending at the NIH to further develop this peptide M10 as a potential therapeutic agent, and hopefully that will also prove to be a successful endeavor. The Hoffman Lab has been involved in scleroderma research for many years and has received support from the Scleroderma Foundation dating back to 1992 and totaling about $700,000. This is Dr. Hoffman here, all masked up in his lab, speaking with Charlie Reese, a graduate student, and I'm happy to report that Charlie will be receiving his PhD after many years of study and research in Stan Hoffman's lab. And we hope that Charlie will continue his interest in scleroderma and will become a very valuable member of our team. So the Hoffman Lab, with the support of the Scleroderma Foundation, has discovered that the activity of a particular protein called caveolin is lower than normal when looked at in scleroderma fibroblasts and also in scleroderma monocytes, cells of the innate immune system. And they have shown that if you can return that level, that activity level to normal, they can make a scleroderma fibroblast behave more like a normal fibroblast. They have developed in the Hoffman Lab a peptide called CSD peptide, which can restore normal caveolin activity to scleroderma fibroblasts. And the goal of their research, supported in part by the Scleroderma Foundation, is to restore normal fibroblast activity and reduce fibrosis. Here is some slides from a recent experiment conducted in the Hoffman Lab looking at lung fibrosis. So this is under control here. This is a section of lung from a mouse that has been treated with saline or salt water. And this is what a normal lung appears as. If you treat that mouse, however, with an agent called bleomycin, you can induce fibrosis, and you can see that this lung no longer resembles the normal lung shown on the left. And all of this blue staining is fibrosis. If the mouse is also treated with this peptide developed in the Hoffman laboratory, you can see that this fibrosis is very much attenuated, and this lung looks much more like the normal control lung than the fibrosis lung. So the Hoffman lab, again, with the support in the past of the Scleroderma Foundation, is in the process of developing this CSD peptide as a potential therapy. This is Paula Ramos, who also is another success story. So Paula was recruited to the Medical University of South Carolina a number of years ago, largely because of her interest in lupus and the genetic aspects of lupus. But we've been able to seduce Paula into studying scleroderma as well. And in 2019, Paula Ramos received one of the Scleroderma Foundation's new investigators awards. So this is $50,000 each year for 3 years to study and to conduct her experiments, which is to look at the monocytes or blood cells of scleroderma patients and to determine how they differ from normal monocytes and to look for potential new targets for treatment. Another success story, Deanna Baker Frost, who received her MD PhD from the Medical University of South Carolina and has now joined the faculty as an assistant professor. And Deanna is looking at the relationship between hormones, particularly estrogen, and fibrosis. And she works closely and is mentored by our own Carol Fagale-Bostwick, and under her mentorship has already begun to make important contributions. And later within the next 30 days, Deanna will be submitting a K08 grant to the NIH, which will provide her hopefully with 5 years of support and protection so that she can devote 75% of her time to scleroderma research. The remainder of her time will be spent in clinical care and other academic pursuits. But we're very proud of Deanna Baker Frost, and she is teaming up with Paula Ramos, has recently published this paper looking at differences in the DNA of patients with scleroderma and finding differences amongst African American patients compared to those with a European descent. So I think that this team, with co-mentorship from Carol Fagale-Bostwick, is likely to find a lot of interesting new findings for scleroderma patients that hopefully will translate into better care. So 2019 was a big year for MUSC when it comes to Scleroderma Foundation awards. That year, I'm not sure exactly how many awards were funded. Perhaps there were as many as 8, but 2 of them came to MUSC investigators. So I mentioned the first one going to Paula Ramos as a new investigator. Dr. Sal received $150,000 over 2 years as an established investigator award. And this is Betty Sal, one of our endowed professors at MUSC, who also was recruited primarily for her interest in the genetics of lupus, but now is becoming interested in the genetics of scleroderma as well. And Betty and her colleagues, her lab colleagues as shown here, have found a significant genetic association of a variant and has now shown that this is seen in Chinese patients with scleroderma and is also present in scleroderma patients of European descent. They are now conducting research which appears to show that if you genetically modify mice so that you give them this particular variant, they will develop lung fibrosis. which is an indication that this variant, which is found in some scleroderma patients, may be one of the principal causes of fibrosis, particularly lung fibrosis, and again, may present a new or potential target for treatment. And for some reason, my slideshow, I want to just go back to this slide. So I want to conclude now. Dr. Fagali Bostwick, as you know, plays a major role, not only as co-director of the Scleroderma Center at MUSC, and here is Carol, shown by the many people working in her lab, all carefully protected, but still working quite diligently. But in addition, Carol plays a major role, leadership role with the Scleroderma Foundation. And she therefore does not apply for Scleroderma Foundation grants herself, because that would present perhaps a conflict of interest. But Carol has been very busy and very productive, and her lab is working hard to identify the triggers that may induce fibrosis in patients with scleroderma and other fibrosing lung disease. As you know, she's been working with a biotech company to develop a molecule that she discovered that has anti-fibrotic processes, and hopefully this will translate into a new therapy for people with scleroderma. So I just want to conclude. I've given you a snapshot of the scleroderma research that's ongoing at MUSC, and I tried to highlight the relationship, the close relationship that MUSC investigators has had with the Scleroderma Foundation over the years. And this is why I've been dedicated much of my time to the Scleroderma Foundation, both as a member of their medical advisory board here locally and in the South Carolina with our chapter, and of course fundraising through the Thomas Mills event, which occurs every year. So I urge you to do what you can do in terms of fundraising for the Scleroderma Foundation, supporting our local chapter in their fundraising endeavors, and considering the Scleroderma Foundation for your own charitable giving. Whatever we get from South Carolina, I think you will agree, comes back tenfold or more to the researchers at MUSC. And I should mention that that $3 million in funding over the last 30 years from the Scleroderma Foundation probably translates into $30 or $60 million in federal funding that would not have come to MUSC if we did not have the pilot data and preliminary data that was generated through funding for research by the Scleroderma Foundation. So on that note, I will stop my presentation. We can stop the recording. And again, I hope to see you or at least speak with you on February 13th, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have at that time.
Much, Robert, for joining us and sharing with us what's going on with the foundation and some of your exciting things coming up, and can't wait to hear about more of that. Thank you so much, Dr. Silver, for joining us and getting that pre-recording done, because that probably made a big difference with internet connection. Thank you to all of our board members who are here today, because we couldn't do all this without everybody's energy and commitment to making this happen. And thank you so much to our support group leaders, because they are the frontline folks and the ones really hearing all the voices of our scleroderma community here. And thank you to our researchers who are here. We didn't get to say hello to all of them, but we have several, Dr. Ramos, Dr. Carol Fagali Bostwick, Dr. Baker Frost, Dr. Oates, and I think there may be others here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. we can stay open for a minute as you guys have to leave. If some people have some last minute questions or any logistical issues you want to talk with us about. But this concludes part 1 of our first virtual meeting, and we greatly appreciate your patience with us as we learn how to do this. So thank you so much. See you next Saturday, and we will see you bright and early. It'll maybe be a sunnier day.